If you wanna listen, what I have to tell you, but you gotta know you're running nothing more. Love is not a failure, for you I'm a failure. I guess that the time is gone and I can't stop. I sleep in the night and the stars in my face, but when sun arrives I see you in my head. To me if you don't care, our love is in the air. I can still see you in my head. To me if you don't care, our love is in the air. I can still see you in my head. I can still see you in my head. If you wanna listen, what I have to tell you, but you gotta know you're running nothing more. Love is not a failure, for you I'm a failure. I guess that the time is gone and I can't stop. I sleep in the night and the stars in my face, but when sun arrives I see you in my head. To me, if you don't care.
Into Fury now as they will start to prep their rotate in towards the zone.
본인들이 잘했어. 오. 이야, 이거 뭐 최면술사도 아니고. 이야.
야.
홀렸습니다.
네.
Cow, wake up.
I'm here, I promise.
We're good. Because it's the final week.
So good.
The final week of PGIS Down Under. Cow had a little splinter in his finger, so he's upset. But don't worry, problem will be solved.
Wait, is that
Eventually.
your mouse hand?
No.
Oh, thank
Oh, thank God.
Oh,
Really
God.
fucked, boys.
Thought we were in some problems. But no, we're all good. And we're back for the final week of PGIS Down Under. For the final week of PGIS. It's been, what, 7 technically weeks of tournament?
Yeah.
Including that 1 week that, you know, we'll forget about. But, man, it's been a weird tournament overall. Like, everyone had their sort of reservations about the format. A lot of them sort of came to a head sort of week 3, week 4, where everyone was sort of sick of the weekly survival. But now it's just all that's left is the grand finals, and it's actually pretty exciting. It's pretty hype to look forward. But first of all, we will look back at previous weeks. Week number 5, we'll start off with the grand finals of last week, where we did get to see a juicy amount of this fine fella on our screens. I'll put it on the right screen. Let's try that clip again, but where the stream can actually see it.
Oh, nice.
Whoops. Look at that.
Dude, it feels like the whole tournament, this is actually like the tournament, like this final week. Like everything else
does.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter, and it's just this last week.
Yeah, and a large
I think
part
that's
of
what it
that,
feels like.
I think, just comes from the. I mean, we already knew that like the prize money deciding your position was gonna be a dodgy one, particularly with the way that the prize money grows. And so, of course, the team that won in week 5 has basically the only team that could potentially win the whole event without coming first in the final week. And that team is, of course, Gen G.
Woo!
Oh, is that the
Oh,
top
Gen
of
G.
the standings?
Didn't even win a game.
Just barely. Oh, it can be done.
Yeah.
You can win a tournament
MCG,
without winning
yeah.
games.
They
It
won
kind
two
of
games.
makes the whole survival thing look stupid with the first and second place teams
Not having
not even
wins.
winning a game.
That's
It
pretty.
just, like-
That's a really good way of looking at it.
Yep.
That's really funny. Fuck
Dude.
this tournament.
If you look down, I mean, Multi-Circle Gaming in 8th had 2 chicken dinners, so they technically would have qualified twice. Day Trade in 13th had a chicken dinner and a win, but only 2 other placement points across the 9 other games from that whole set of matches. But yeah, I mean, it was incredibly close in last week's grand finals. It was probably by far the closest that we've seen, at least in this tournament, at the very least, if not beyond a grand finals, where it literally came down to kind of the last engagement of the final game to decide who was making top 4. And it's quite unfortunate for MCG because they started off day 1 looking incredibly strong, but things did get a little sketchy towards the end, and that sort of summed up quite nicely in oh, okay, well we'll get onto that. But this one, I mean, this is sort of the end of DA. You know, down in the dip, Gen G sort of wiping the floor with them.
Just nades again.
Nades.
They've been practicing.
So good.
They have those grenades again.
Yeah.
It was literally what, week 1 where we brought up the nades, and they've just been they've been so massive. We will get some details on how massive precisely that they have been. Sneaky spoiler. But just to go back once again, MCG, they started off incredibly strong. It got sketchy towards the end, and it was unfortunate that they weren't able to make the top 4. But it's kind of summed up the whole week by the way that this game ended, where it was so damn close. Look at how much ammo
This is
Summer
way
has
too close.
I think at this point, where they'd thrown all the grenades already, and it gave VP a
VP
chance
have
to
heaps
move
of
out.
grenades.
Yeah, MCG on the high ground just threw all theirs into the smokes. So by the time they run out this time, they've got none left, and VP actually put up a hell of a fight here.
VP win this because they have an AK, 100%.
Look at how much ammo Summer's got. Look at how many bullets he has. He has 3 bullets.
That's
Wait,
not
he has to
enough.
run.
He has to run over and loot some more ammo to take the final 1v1.
Wow.
That was
Probably
crazy.
just tripped the
I-
fuck out of the last VP guy. He's like, what is he doing? Like, why is he peeking me?
But he was able to get some
Wow.
flashbangs out of it, and you know that utility is king in the current game, and so flashbangs were enough to close it out in the final 1v1. But I mean, VP put up a hell of a fight on the low ground with 3 up against 4, and they still brought it down to a 1v1 that was very, very winnable. It's I mean, VP have put up like a great performance. It's just a shame that we're not going to be seeing them anymore, but unfortunately, you know, that's just how things goes. But as we said,
With Horizon as well.
yeah, I know, with a
Like, not
sub
even
as
their
well.
call. Yeah.
And it's the same. It's a similar thing for TSM. Obviously, their performance overall hasn't been as strong, but without one of the main roster players, you can't have massively high expectations for them to like win the whole event. So I'd say that they definitely performed respectably for either side. But as we said, it's the closest final weeks that we had so far. Just look at how far on this next clip, how far Infantry jump up the standings off the back of one single win. Take a look at this. Currently in 7th. And this is on match 8. And it jumped up to 3rd. With just
It
the
was
points
so
that they got
close.
to win.
It was actually so close.
It's just the best of 10. Like, always comes down to like the last couple games.
Yeah. Reincasting, man, it's so good. But yeah, like you said, with the low amount of games, it doesn't give that much time for teams to sort of separate themselves from the pack, right? And it leaves you with this sort of situation where I know in particular this week there was a lot of discussion about Tiamba just barely missing out on the prize money on a tiebreaker with DA, not for points, not for kills, but on the highest kills per game that they had, because they were tied for both kills and for points overall. And it came down to DA had a 10 kill win, Tiamba had a 9 kill win.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the final game was Tiamba and DA were the last 2 teams alive. So everyone's saying, you know, if Tiamba denies points there and doesn't try and get one pick or take the fight, then they probably would have been in the prize money. But You know, a lot of people say, you know, there's no possible way that they could have known that. I don't know whether they get a chance to see the leaderboards or the standings within the game, and it still would have taken
I
some
think you
like.
do, but the problem was like
You're
it
not
wasn't
worrying
just
about
DA.
Yeah, you're not worrying.
Yeah,
about
you're
the
worrying
other
about too many
teams.
teams.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like 4 teams you have to keep track of. Like how many have they gotten?
Yeah,
Nobody's
it
gonna.
would have
remember that. And
taken
yeah,
perfect kill.
you don't
feed
want to
checking.
accidentally deny. You don't want to accidentally deny and like then find out that had you gotten 1 kill and then deny. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah.
Or another
Yeah.
situation. Imagine they're 2 points away from breaking 2nd place, but they deny, don't go for it.
Yeah.
They get 5th place when they could have got hundreds of thousands of dollars if they just tried.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the one thing that you can probably say about like this format overall is at least it cuts out on that sort of. I don't know, from the play perspective, it's a good thing to do in a lot of situations, but from a viewer's perspective, it sucks so much ass to sit there and watch 30 minutes of a game just to see somebody deny points to the blue zone and end a game that way. So at least it's sort of encouraging people to try and take the fights at the end, and it's actually worked out pretty well for a lot of teams, which we'll get into, but we've seen a whole lot of situations where maybe in another tournament it would have been a deny, but it's come up as a big clutch overall for a lot of players in various of the games. But we'll cover that as we get to them. But first, let's take a quick look at the bottom 16 for week number 5, because if you think back to last week, we were kind of considering whether the lobby for the bottom 16 was a stronger overall lobby than the lobby for the grand finals, just purely based on the teams that were able to pick up a win and the teams that weren't quite able to do it. So there was a lot of strong teams that were definitely looking to rack up the points to get as many chances as they possibly could to qualify for the grand finals this week. So let's have a quick look at how things all rounded out in the bottom 16. It was once again Zenith. They won the week before that. They didn't qualify for the grand finals, but they did top out the bottom 16 at the very least, with FaZe Clan right up there behind them. Buriram with 2 wins, which, I mean, considering the fact that before this week they'd only been in 1 final and they hadn't been able to get a win, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Is there anything else here that sort of stands out to you, Ronan?
Insight said he watched a fair few. Did you end up watching like most of the bottom 16?
I watched a bit of it,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I
It
didn't
was
watch
good.
any
It was
of
just
it.
good to see. Like, it was actually entertaining because like when people get kills in like the bottom 16, like it actually matters. I don't know.
Maybe I've been flaming Zenith too much. I
No,
know
they
that, like
actually-
they won that week, and then I was like, oh, that'll do. Like that, they're not gonna see anything else from them. But this isn't a weak lobby. I mean, it's not like
I was
a
saying that.
ridiculously strong lobby, but
I
they
was
still
saying that
smashed it.
they should probably stick together. Roos should stay on the team. Good old Roos.
Good old
Yeah,
Reese.
but it's more than that. It's like saying
Well, I don't know.
Duke
I don't
should've
know
stayed.
what. Well, we weren't winning hundreds.
Well, you guys
Okay,
did
we
better
did
with him.
tie. Yeah.
He gave better.
No, I
better
get
with
it.
him.
Yeah.
I get you.
I get it. Yeah.
All right, but they're doing like very, very well. I guess we did well. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Yeah,
I
it's
would
more
like
than
to.
just-
I would kind of just like to know what the problem is, but I don't know if they're gonna say anything about
We
it.
should get them as guests.
Hey, how about
Absolutely.
someone leak the GC goss on why he's actually leaving?
I mean,
He's
Leak
letting
with one
anyone
of their
knows.
girlfriends?
okay.
I don't think so.
Start the rumors flying already. But I mean, we know that this tournament has had like a lot of mental toll on a lot of the players, and I mean, if we think back to week 1 and Batulins was tweeting like, you know, if we qualify for the finals, we're not even really happy about it. It's just relief that like we're just glad that it's over. So these are the teams that didn't have that in week number 5 at the very least, and it seems like for the teams that we expected to show up and to perform well, they were still able to get over that sort of mental block and do so. So obviously Shoot to Kill was up there in the top 5, TSG in 5th place as well. I know Ronan's had his eye on them once or twice in the weekly finals in the past. But let's have a quick look at Buriram in one of their chicken dinner wins, where once again it was a numbers disadvantage. It's 2 versus 4 at this point, and yet they're still taking the fight. Although I don't think Buriram is a team that would back down from a 2v4 anyway.
근데 연막탄이 심하게 펼쳐지면서 바로 이곳 이거 안에 그냥 뒤로 돌아버려가지고 상대방 예상하지 못한 곳으로 나오면 또 달라요. 그렇습니다. 고렉시 나오고 아 근데 고렉시 그리고 나오고 네, 아 이거 첫 번째
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of damage to that
He
tower.
did.
무겁습니다. 무거운데 수류탄이
I swear.
Got so much detail, bro.
이거 살리면 길게 들어간다면 살렸어요.
Went to 1v3.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, good stuff. Good
Sort of
stuff.
lined up at
That's
the
huge.
end, but
I think 80 is probably the best person I've seen with the 3x in this whole event.
it's ridiculous. I swear, every time I see Edie with the 3x barrel, I know that at least 4 people are gonna die. It's so crazy, but I don't know. They did a very similar thing as well later on, which we will cover, where it's numbers disadvantage, pushing up, getting aggressive on the smokes, and it catches a lot of teams off guard. And they've always been considered that sort of aggressive team, and it's good to see that, you know, it's the final couple of weeks. They're starting to put some wins together. They got themselves a solid number of chances to qualify for the grand finals as well, and got right up there in the standings as well. So 3rd place, they're coming in game number 4. There was some signs of life from some of the other teams as well who weren't necessarily performing. I think a big example of this was this play, which once again, we're going back to Thailand, but this one, Jankyu, unfortunately going to fall, but Jay is from AAA, pretty much 1v4ing ends at this point, and DGW just sit back and watch. This was a nasty one.
맞습니다. 이거 마지막 기회가 될 수 있습니다.
살려주고 있거든요.
4 grenades. I think if we've learned anything from this tournament, it's just take more grenades. Just look at this.
Just bait smoke more.
3 with 1 nade.
Yeah, it's like if you're in a fucking smoke, it's expected to be naded.
The caster's like, oh, nades again.
어부질이 그야말로
멸망을 시켜버렸어요.
And a quick cleanup around the side. That's the 1v4 completed.
That was clean.
And then, you know, he just sort of dies. Just sort of right after that, because DGW kill him. But
3 up. And he has no more nades.
No, he ran out, and that was kind of the limiting factor there. But it was good to see some signs of life from the teams who maybe had been underperforming, or I don't know if you could necessarily call it underperforming, because I don't think anyone expected AAA to do incredibly well. Obviously, they haven't done anything.
Last, like, 2 events. So.
Yeah, nothing particularly relevant internationally. However, even technically nationally as well. So. But it was good to see that, you know, they're still able to hit those levels. Quite the opposite sort of story that we've seen for Damwon Kia, and of course we do have to bring them up once again. But we did manage to find a couple of like key moments, and it just seemed to be under having a bit of a fun time with Molotovs. There's a couple of clips in this one. He had a couple of back-to-back molly plays. But this one had people like, this is not the first time he's done this, even in this tournament. And I've seen
Korean players do this.
I saw Waike Kamukao try this, and it didn't work.
That's true.
I remember that. Miramar, someone threw a molly. You tried to shoot it out of the air and then got triple peaked or something. That's unfortunate.
Didn't go well.
But this is his other little Molotov play. If you remember this one, Furia nestled in.
They were stuck in there. But
They just get
I
absolutely
took them
barbecued. The card was blocking them.
I think it was it TL? Someone? Oh, no, FaZe. FaZe blocked the car, and the car blocked them inside.
Yeah, so they couldn't get out. They just got absolutely roasted,
That's unlucky.
barbecued.
GG tap out.
You may have noticed the clips this week are all, you know, from the Korean stream. That is out of respect for the fallen, for the Damwon Kia that once was, but this time around, not to be. But at least they're still, you know, they're getting Fioria all hot and bothered and locked in and inflamed. So they had something going for them. But
Hot and bothered.
we're speaking about getting hot and bothered. You guys might want to strap in, because we're about to have our very own hottie on the screen.
Flood.
If you know what I mean.
Is it Flood?
It's not Flood.
Yeah,
No.
it's Flood.
Better than
Oh,
Flood.
it's a Flood. Oh.
They out.
So guys,
Strapping
and
on.
welcome back to the last week.
Oh, not this guy.
Wisdom with
Holy.
Viking. I know you guys love this, and today we're going to talk a lot about numbers. First of all, we're going to be looking at head-to-head players here, as we see E36 at 2 and Meta Wicked.
What?
Really playing 16 games each, only managing to scrape together 4 and 5 kills respectively.
Wow.
I mean, that's not a lot for players on this level, and as we've seen, Enter Force 36 has been underperforming this whole event. I think they haven't really been able to get up to the standard
roast 'em,
of
bro.
some of the other teams in their own region, and in the
They're already
other
dead,
regions,
bro.
especially NA and LCA teams, they haven't really been able to keep up with. Now on to the next segment here.
Just
we have
toxic.
a little bit on revives, as we see that
Oh!
GA are the kings of reviving, and they've been going at it. Mert Smash on 9 revives, Metralius on 8 revives. Just on a whole other
That's
level on the
pretty
revive
insane.
game. They're getting knocked too much, I guess. And now we're looking at some more specific statistics here, looking into the 5.56, the 7.62, and the frag grenades. As we can see on the right hand side of your screen, the 5.56 guns does a lot of damage, but not as much as we see the 7.62 one does. We have a gap of more than 20,000 damage between the two ammo types, and only 2,000 more bullets were shot of the 7.62 caliber. Keep in mind that the 7.62 does a bit more damage when it hits, but then again, the 5.56 should be easier to control in general. And now, why are we looking at these stats? It's because of the new 5.56 buff and the debuff coming to 7.62 weapons, more specifically the barrel and the SLR. So within the next few months, as Season 11 also comes onto the esports server, I think we will see less and less use of the 7.62 and more people switching back to mini M4 combos, or maybe even picking up more SCAR-Ls. On the last column we can see grenades, and again, as we've seen the entire event, grenades are absolutely lethal, and with a 8.41% of the total damage done the entire week in only 1236 grenades, that's just absurdly much. Like, just insane numbers here coming out for the grenades, and I'm really looking forward to see what kind of part in PUBG esports, the utility, especially grenades, smokes, flashbangs, molotovs, what they can have of an impact on PUBG esports in 2021. Lastly, we have my weekly pick, and of course I have to go with FaZe. FaZe are going to come back, they're going to clutch this, they're going to be the winner of the PGIS. And of course, thank you to Rick, and thank you to the boys for having me on every week. It's been fantastic, and I love you guys. Big kisses, big hugs, and I'll see you guys.
Sounds like he cut himself off early again.
I'll see you guys.
Is that just cut off?
I was
See
waiting for
you
the
guys on the
wacky
next
Jackie
one.
next time.
Yeah,
And I
and
just
see you
forgot.
guys
There is no
next
next time.
time.
This is the last one. You know, he made full use of that extra minute that I gave him as a reward for picking Zenith correctly
Zenith.
the other week. Made full use of that. And put up some interesting stats. So we said like 8% of the entire total damage has been from grenades, and that's a hefty amount. But he does bring up a good point with the buffs and nerfs, the balance changes to barrel SLR mini SCAR coming up. Maybe we'll see some more SCARs being picked up, but I don't know that the mini needed a buff. But you know what? We'll see how things play out, I suppose.
Sure it did.
What do you guys think? What do you think, Ronan?
What's
What's
your-
buffs?
Nah, that's silly. Don't buff mini. You buff you nerf the SLR instead. You don't buff things.
Nah,
Oh.
buff it.
Would you buff
Oh,
some?
They didn't.
Would you buff something like the SKS?
Yeah.
I want to hear what
I don't-
Flood was about to say. It was a good one.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they didn't buff it because of competitive players. They buffed it because of the casuals. You guys know that, right?
I think
No,
Shit,
I think
but it
as
still doesn't
well.
mean- That doesn't mean anything. But
Wait,
it still didn't deserve a buff in
Wait,
general.
hold on. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, but
What do you mean they
You
make
guys
changes
don't
for
read it.
casuals? Have you not seen the ultra competitive
Yeah,
edition
yeah.
of that emergency balloon that carries you across the zone in
That
a
looks
plane?
No, they-
that actually looks pog. by the way.
This a lot also got like I don't know how much of an impact it's gonna make, but I mean, because you've got to reset your shots anyway after each SLR shot, like with you do a mouse reset, with the quicker reset time, it's only 0.2 seconds, but I don't know how much of a difference that's gonna like. It might not actually be that bad. Like it might almost be still just as easy to use. I don't know. I haven't.
I think it's gonna be harder to double tap because of the horizontal
Yeah,
recoil.
maybe,
Because that was
yeah.
the easiest thing about the SLR. It was so easy to double tap people.
Yeah, but reset time will also help with double tapping.
I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see what
Yeah.
it's like.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait
It's
and
like
see.
it's easy to read the numbers, but like it's hard to know what it's actually gonna feel like.
I think
It's all
that,
that feel.
yeah, one of the big things about the SLR, the double tap, is you can get away with a headshot body shot. Whereas if you're double tapping a mini, you have to headshot both,
Yeah.
or they're just gonna sort of walk away from you. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those. We'll have to wait and see exactly how things play out. But we will not have to wait and see how things play out for the weekly survival series, because that's already happened, and that was this week's game. So let's have a look at who the 16 teams who were able to pick up wins will finally be playing in the grand final this week. And we pulled this
This is
little
so
graphic
cool.
up from the
Yeah.
from the Korean stream. They just have different graphics to the main one. I didn't even realize, but this one shows you how many weeks the teams have qualified for. And we've got teams that have been pretty consistent in getting to the final. Gen G, Oath, Afrika Freaks, every single week. There's a few teams
Yeah,
like
who are good.
MCG, Day Trade, who have only missed the first week, but they've qualified every other week. That's pretty nuts. And there's a few other teams who've only missed a week here and there as well, like TL, Infantry, Tiamba. So we have a pretty stacked finals this week.
This is the most stacked it's ever been. I think that's like amplified by the fact that you've literally got all 5 week winners in the lobby.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody who didn't win
I'm
a
happy
week that isn't here.
there's no like Japanese team because those guys
Yeah.
been kind of trash.
Chinese Taipei as well.
Yeah.
None of those.
So like none
They-
of like
they've
the
struggled.
the only team that I feel like is
Meta.
probably the weakest is probably DXG.
See, I
Like,
was
like, Meta aren't that bad because they got the second.
I
last
was
week.
Yeah, but that's what I
looking.
mean.
Like Meta deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Meta deserve to be there.
So
Yeah, that's
I
alright.
was
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at this
No,
lobby.
I went the other way. I went the other way.
And I'm thinking, like, who here would I be, like, happy if they were swapped with a different team? And the only one that I could really identify was maybe DXG, but there's a few that you could possibly swap for, like, I think Ty Brody posted out some stats of, like, average points per game, and it was VP, DA, Ents, and Meta were in the top 16 for points per game, but didn't make it to the finals. So there's 4 potential teams that you could maybe argue in a different format might have been in the finals.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, the way that the tournament has sort of played out, and we've had strong teams who've missed the finals for the grand final week where it actually matters, we probably have close to the strongest possible lobby. And you know, like Cal said, it's the first time that we've had every single previous weekly final winner in the lobby. And we've had a few that have missed several weeks here and there, so it's a pretty hefty lobby. So we've got a lot to look forward to this weekend. And of course, the team that we will be looking at first of all is going to be Gen G, and the way that they qualified, we touched on the 1 versus 3s and the big clutches, but this one was nasty.
딜로만 잡으면 여기는 뚫려요.
그렇죠.
그러면 이노닉스한테 기회 한번 더 옵니다.
전방에
최대한 천천히.
가려주고 왼쪽 잡으면 돼요.
자,
이제는
상대편의 옵저버가 사라졌어 이제.
왼쪽.
저는
See, I don't know if this is one of those situations where if you are in sort of super settings, Inonix might have just opted to deny and not take the 1v3, but
Well, it's a 1v2 at this point. The other
Yeah,
guy was
at this
not.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he didn't. Oh, he did get the other guy, but we'll touch
You'd
on
never
that
deny
later.
one v two, especially when there's like good players.
1 HP. though.
Oh,
Once he
So
pranked,
that one-
he couldn't win. It's not actually
That
possible.
one was a 2v3 and then turned to a 1v2. It was never a 1v3 at any point. Yeah, because the guy. So like, in the whole reason, like why Ronan said 0-3, like Ronan can run you through it, but yeah.
No,
Like, if
Snake
you
is
get-
left hard.
Snake
pretty
is
sure. I'm pretty
the
sure.
only
Pack
reason
Caps
they got
is
knocked.
WK as well.
Yeah,
Like,
because
WK is really hard.
Snakers whiffed on the dude, probably called he was one shot, and then Pat Caps overpeaked, got the knock on that guy, then got traded. But if Snakers knocks the first dude, it's a 1v3. Like the Oath don't lose that if Snakers doesn't whiff on Esther. Was it Esther or Loki? It was Loki.
It was
It was
Loki,
Loki.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Loki. He whiffs like so hard on Loki.
Yeah, it was a shocker.
Forces his teammates to overpeak for the knock, and then Inonix trades one back and has a 1v2. It's just like, yeah, if Snakers doesn't whiff, they win that game every day of the week,
Yeah.
which he knows obviously. But like,
It's pretty rough for the end.
that's rough.
When it was like Inonix.
That's
Was it
nerves.
Inonix at the very end?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like super low, and then Snakers could have just pushed up like from the back ridge while Relo just like held. but then Relo peaked, and Snake has just stayed on that back ridge the whole time. Like, he
Every
needs to-
every
he
single
needs to
time.
move up. Like,
If Snakers moves, all really needs to do is keep doing his quick peek and then trade.
Yeah.
Snake. If Snake is getting shot at, just trade that.
yeah.
Like, and then you win.
So
But
the-
it's so tricky in hindsight.
The thing
Yeah,
It's so
that
tricky.
sort of stands out about clips like that is when we're seeing these big, like, clutch individual plays towards the end of the game specifically, it seems to be like NA teams a lot that's on the receiving end of it. Like, we saw it earlier with Brew and Zenith. We saw it there with Oath. We're gonna see it again when we can talk about Brew in just a few seconds, where they push it up on Oath. I don't know if that's just like NA teams wouldn't do that kind of thing, where they get aggressive and play that sort of individually towards the end game, where they know that they're in like a 1v2, a 1vx sort of situation, that they're being the aggressor and pushing up, that it catches them off guard. I don't know whether that's there's any sort of credit to that, or whether it's something that they could potentially work on coming into the grand finals, but it's something that certainly does seem to catch them off. But as we said, we sort of leaked it a little bit, so this is the roller coaster ride of emotion that Brew went through in just the space of 2 games, right? So they had the one get that it was that incredibly weird Lost Ego circle that then shifted back to the mainland and ended pretty much under the bridge, and there was people swimming around in the water like it's season 1 or something. So let's take a quick look at what Brew went through in those couple of games. This was pretty nuts. This is probably the best pre-nade I've seen in a while.
Oh,
Nasty.
Damn.
Absolutely nasty. Perfectly timed.
whenever I pre-nade, I end up nading my teammates.
And then
Oh,
they're in a 3 versus 1 versus 1. Another one of those massive individual plays from Longsker. And he's got a fat set of utility to go along with it, so he can clean up Brute and then takes the final 1v1 with IQ 500.
Did he say Kobe?
Yeah, I think so.
he just said Kobe.
I was clean.
You can see like the difference in emotions between them. Like,
Oh, Edie.
this is where they miss out on the game, and this is where you can see that mental toll that it takes on the players for not qualifying. And then this.
Yeah, this is insane. It's so good that the tab fought Oath. I thought he was gonna fight Burim all this time.
Kinda
So
can't.
worried.
He's like down the ridge.
Yeah. It's actually Burram that does get rid of him though, and kills him out in the end, but
Yeah, but he distracts that guy long
he
enough.
does, and they
That's
get
awesome.
aggressive. But you can see like the difference in emotion from Brew. This is the game after they got snaked on from the water.
Bro,
Yeah.
I feel like they
think-
need to
I-
cut to the pop-off like instantly. Because we're missing like the first couple of seconds of it.
I think SDK maybe misplayed that game as well.
I mean, I don't think you can do much in their position,
You reckon?
in my opinion.
'Cause
Nah, dude.
I
If
think-
you're
I think
holding a
Penta's
single
dying.
yellow, if you're holding
Yeah.
a single yellow and you have 8 people on either 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and you only have 1 building, I mean, I don't think you can do much.
Well, so 3 of them did it perfect, but Penta stayed inside the building for some reason. And then, what happened to Penta? He just got mollied and utiled to death.
Probably a
And they
cut
said-
off.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think.
But
I don't,
he did.
Yeah,
The guys were outside for ages, but Penta stayed in the building for some reason and then died. So like maybe could have had a better 4v4 once Brew had used all their util. And I was also thinking like Brew and SK fought for so long. Brew didn't have like much util left as well, which was like a big worrying factor. But they made it work. Like they didn't have many smokes or anything. And they had like 4 between them, like leaving the yellow or something.
I didn't see that game.
It was a good game.
It was.
Fuck,
I think it was like the
really
worst
a
shift
good
possible for SDK.
Yep.
I was like one of those games
100%.
where you're getting fed, but it's like the worst type of feed because you're gonna get pushed at the same time, like by 8 people. It's like
Yeah, but they
So
actually had a
talk
proper fight. They actually had a proper fight with Brew.
Talk about
Which is
fucking
good.
unlucky. That game where it was on Stunty and Zenith pushed out onto STK.
Oh,
That
I
was a
just trolled
yikes.
him.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they,
Are we
like,
talking
STK
about that?
I would have been so tilted.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they
It's
had
just
the
like
position.
not even something that goes through your mind.
You just jogged it out with the UMP. I love it.
And then like
Do
the
you
two
think-
guys that just like ran in the open somehow won that game. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think there's a world where they pushed out because they thought that was the fire station team, even though they knew SDK that were there for so long?
No way. That's like a really That's I don't know. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear like what actually went through their heads.
Yeah, because there's no way you can misplay that hard. But,
No, that
They probably thought Meta pushed out West. I reckon that's what they
yeah.
thought.
I know
I
that
think they
there's
probably didn't realize there was two teams like to the west.
I know that there's some teams that have got comms streams, which people only really found out about towards the end of the tournament. So it would be definitely interesting to go back and see some of these like key moments.
Wait,
for some
everyone
of the
can see the
teams.
comm streams?
They're on Huya, but I know that like Oath has one. I've seen them also on the Korean stream doing listen-ins to comms with teams like Gen G. So I don't know. It seems like we don't really have access to it, but they do exist and they're out there. So you can probably go do some looking in. Yeah, it's weird, but hey, it's okay because you know what? We're at that point now. We've discussed the things that have happened in the past, but not all of it, because we do have to get into once more the fails of the week. We're gonna do that first this time. We'll do the predictions very last to keep things, keep everyone on their toes, keep everyone guessing. And this time, I mean, it's sad. I think one of the biggest fails that we have for the final week overall is that we're not going to see any more of Ragnar's shenanigans. He's
What the fuck?
네, 메타 게이밍 뭔가를 부르나요? 뭔가를 부르나요?
Look at his face. I love it. Bless. He definitely brought some
He'd
personality
be so
to
much
the
fun.
tournament.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But it's sad that we're not going to see them anymore in the grand finals. But he's put a lot of a display on in between the games at the very least. But I mean, there's certainly been displays put on in the games, and for the most part, we're looking once again. It always seems to be the case. It's vehicle mishaps overall. I gotta say, whoever named this clip is a genius. They call this one Fast and Furia. We're just gonna go into straight montage. This, I don't know what you do in this situation. I don't know if you stay in the car. Just get splattered. Rolling the
That's
Murado.
the two free skills you're ever gonna get. That's great.
Oh man.
They're just driving into the smoke.
I love how they
That's
both
not
got out on
that
the
fun.
same side somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Pretty
is
sure that guy got
hilarious.
Iron Machine. This is really funny. I laughed.
대단한 플레이인데요.
I just
man.
love it because we've done that rotate so many times off that cliff, and you're always just so terrified of flipping it. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna flip here, boys. Fuck it. I'm doing
Bit
the
off
jump.
topic. Have you noticed that the Korean cast is trio cast?
Yes.
That's quite interesting.
I think that the Korean casters have been so way more entertaining. Like they
I
always
spoke-
react a lot better.
I spoke to Paper Thin, and Paper Thin said like if you knew what they were actually saying, it's nonsense most of it.
Yeah.
But he like agrees, like they're just like really hype.
I like this.
Not like
vibe-
nonsense,
like the
just-
vibes.
Yeah, it's a lot of like shouting player names over and over. It's, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's like an energy thing. It's definitely a lot easier to trio cast if you're there in
That's where
person.
that's where somebody like Paper Thin has like the energy, but knows what he's talking
Oh
about
no.
like, all the time.
Uh-oh. That did so much damage from reversing into a
Whoa!
tree.
No way! No way!
Wait, did he F out?
No, he just hit the tree and died.
Hit the tree.
No way! That did like 20 damage.
Yeah, that did a lot for
Shit.
reversing. That was
And for reversing, which means he's only going like 60Ks max.
that was some thick damage for Hyruzen.
Yeah.
But you know what? Backing into a tree and killing yourself probably sums up, VP's end to this tournament, where they just had so many chances to get into the end game, weren't able to quite close things out. There was that one game that it was in the crater, sort of southeast of Picado. And I just remember like Haruzen's 1v4. He's just like throwing his pan in the air, like shooting up. He's like,
Yeah.
he knows that he's done. He knows he's just dead. There's nothing that he can do. And it's so unlucky because they put on such a great effort, a solid display throughout the tournament, but unfortunately will not be back for the grand finals. But let's wrap things up by taking a quick look at some of the teams who will be and who we expect to do well. So we will get our predictions. I mean, you know what? If people are in the chat who still have coupons, don't know quite who to throw them out on, I'm sure people have been tweeting out their picks and posting them in Discords and whatever. But let's get some solid picks in this time.
Mine was
around.
right last week, Rick.
Was it?
Did you know that?
It was Gen
Yeah.
G. That's true. So
Yeah.
you get an
Wow.
extra minute now on
Let's go.
Weekly Wacky Wisdom
So
with
original, Cal.
Why Kick
So
a Moo Cow.
basically, I'm about to go 2 for 6 this week. 'cause
All
I know
right.
I'm about to get it right.
Well, you're talking up a big game. Let's start with you. Who have you got?
It's Brew. It's Brew. I mean, they've been fragging pretty ridiculously hard this past week. I think this is their second week that they've qualified, but like every bottom 16, like they've really shown up. So they're going to rack up the points and they're going to smash it. It's a Brew.
I want to add on to that. So I want to know the stats on how many games total each team has played. Because I feel like Brew has played so many games, and it feels like they're so warmed up compared to like some.
There
of
is
the other teams.
there is a sheet out
take
there
s-
somewhere. I'll try and find the
Yeah,
link.
like
but
it's like
I've
it's like
definitely
they
seen
take so many fights and like they win like all of their fights. It feels like. So I feel like this is the week like they've been in the chamber and they're about to frag out. So I voted Brew as well, by the way.
Yeah, I
Well done.
Thanks.
No biasness or anything like that. They are. I think they've
That's so
shown
good.
themselves at periods of time to be a top 4 team there, and it's like Gen G. Gen G
Easy.
hadn't shown up till last week. Brew.
Yeah.
Brew
Yeah,
better.
I'm
the-
They
I'm
have
the
shown up. Brew have
pioneer.
shown up.
I'm like the conductor of the Brew hype train. I'm so proud.
you got a
Yeah.
shout out on the stream for being the conductor
Yeah.
of the Brew Hype Train. You've converted all the
Nice.
talent, but they are definitely a team who they've shown when it comes into the super settings style of play, they can absolutely farm. And they were sort of doing similar things in the survival series. It's just not closing out the games, but they were still getting like 15 plus kill second, third places here and there. So we're definitely expecting big things to come from them. Ronan, who do you have? You've been bouncing around all over the place with your picks. Who have you got for the grand finals?
STK, because I like Luke. He's
Let's go,
cute.
STK.
My man.
The best reason.
I just want Purdy Kerr to go home so I can stop seeing these thirst tweets.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
I
It's a
told my
dream.
partner about that today. I was like, that's
That's so
seriously
fun,
not
though.
something you chuck on Twitter. That's like,
That's funny.
that's wrong.
I think
No.
it's
I thought it was hilarious.
It's fun.
You keep your
That's
fucking,
not
that's
something my
fucking-
girlfriend would do.
yeah. That's
Oh
just,
my god.
I think it's
keep
fine.
it in your pants.
Definitely fun, but I think it's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Flood thought it was quite
It's
funny
just
as well.
another way
I've seen
to
Flood in the
express-
response.
Express themselves. That's expressing.
That's
their
flood.
love.
That's
Yeah.
flood. Like you have to understand. That's flood. Every
Yeah.
looting phase is comments exactly like Curdy's girlfriend.
Bonk.
That's all him all the time. Is it not flood? That's fucking
Yeah,
you. all the
I'd say it's pretty close, yeah.
time. We have to take it every day.
So Flood, I
Maybe
know
that's why I'm so used to it now.
Yeah,
So
Flood. I
that
know you're
tweet is
sending
like a
you're sending
sting.
Purdy to horny jail, but who are you sending to the number one place? Who's taking home the
I
tournament?
mean, most consistent team, highest points per game, definitely without a doubt SDK. My boys. Good
Vio
team.
just changed his mind after seeing that tweet. All right, he was going brew.
No,
he was
no,
going brew up
no,
till
I
then.
wasn't. I never was.
No.
I never was. I
No.
was always
No,
going
you
to go
changed your
SDK.
I
Oh,
swear
somebody
I
else.
want to vote for
That's cap.
SDK or Brew because I love it. I love them equally.
Well, funnily enough, we have a 2-2 split between SDK and Brew for our predictions
first
this
time.
time around. So, hey, we've got it. We've shared the love. We've shown who our favorites are. But you know what? It's up to everyone else who they pick as their favorites. I'm seeing a lot of like MCG, Gen G, Infantry, FaZe Clan being brought up a lot of the time as well. For the top 4 overall, I actually think that Day Trade have a very solid chance of doing well.
Yeah.
It actually surprised me when I see that they qualified 5 weeks in a row, and they only
But they
missed out on the first week.
And if you watch every game they've played, not every game, sorry, but like for the most part, like they seem like they feel comfortable performing at how well, like how their success matches their performance. It feels like, yes, a team like maybe I don't know, but like, do you know what I mean? There's some teams that they're like having good results that aren't necessarily. You can tell like that's kind of like one-off sort of things.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Cal.
Day trader like earning their spot.
Definitely. And I don't know. I'd be interested to see whether Oath does end up getting sent to 16th because, you know, we've seen some like pretty good games from them where they've been picking up like 16, 17, 18 kills. But then again, Brew's in the lobby, and we know that how that sort of interaction goes, don't we, Insight? We know
It's
about
Brew's
Brew and
kills.
Oath. It is. It's just free kills for Brew. But there's only one real way to find out who's going to take it home, and that is to wait until the weekend is over and concluded and done with. And I actually, for once, have a Sunday off work, so I'll actually be able to watch the games. This is crazy. So I'm excited. I know you guys, I know Ronan, for probably the first time in his life, was actually hyped to watch a PUBG tournament. So
Hey, how do you know that about me?
oh, I don't know. I don't know how I could possibly get that sort of impression. But you know what? It's a big weekend to come up for a lot of people. Literally millions of dollars on the line. And I mean, there's a whole lot of ways that this could still go down. Gen.G overall have to be kind of the favorites to take the whole tournament, just purely based on the fact that they don't technically have to get first place to win, but they do have to get second, and it has to be a specific set of teams that don't win for them to do it.
Gen.G won enough money.
It's
Give someone
complicated.
else some money.
But
Come on.
Seriously,
You know
if it's 10 games, any of the 16 teams that qualified can win this weekend.
yeah, with the
10 games.
strength of
I
the
can't
lobby,
imagine what would be going through people's minds. Like how surreal it must feel to know that you're that close to winning life-changing money.
yeah,
Feel good.
It'd be cool.
it would
It would be
definitely be an experience, to say the least. So you know what, best of luck to everyone there. Hopefully we're gonna get the grand finals that we deserve after what has been somewhat of a marathon of a tournament with a lot of ups and a lot
it's
of
been
downs.
very
And
long.
It's time to end.
it's
little bit too
even,
long.
you know, it's even had a couple of teams that have sort of crumbled under the pressure of it and fallen apart. But hopefully, you know, we're going to get to see the performances for the final week, and everyone is going to perform. It's going to be great, and it's going to be a revival of PUBG esports for 2021, and should pave the way for the rest of the year. So, you know what? Hopefully, things will go incredibly well. And you know what? Maybe if there is another big global tournament that Fury doesn't get an invite to, maybe we'll do another podcast for that. Who knows? But we will hope that that isn't the case. We will definitely hope to see y'all up on the big stage playing for potentially millions of crowd-funded dollars once again. But for now, that's going to be our final episode of PGIS Down Under. These boys have got a tie series to play in about an hour's time, so they've
8 minutes.
8 minutes, Jesus.
What?
Okay.
No, it's
No, an hour and 8
Oh
minutes.
my
Okay, you
God.
pranked me. I was gonna say you gotta get in training mode ASAP, but never mind. Been in training mode the whole time. It's okay. It's okay. We were keeping that one a secret, but don't worry about it. But no, we'll wrap it up, and we'll say thank you to everyone who has watched or tuned in, whether it be on Twitch or on the YouTube VODs, and everyone who's been sat in the comments. I see several familiar names and a few new ones as well. A few Thai fans coming in and showing some love and
Body
support.
cap.
So thank you very much to everyone, and we shall be, well, I guess we won't be back, but we'll be seeing
Right.
you. I guess we'll be seeing you.
We'll see you in chat.
Yeah.
Chat this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I don't know yet. I keep searching. We are forever. I can see where we're going. I don't know yet. I keep searching. I